Good evening and welcome to Life Off the Bench, Season 1, Episode 3, where you will find ordinary people doing ordinary things in an extraordinary way. We are blessed to be with you this evening, where we are discussing mental health stigma in the African American community. We are here as your panelists to share with you our personal opinions, our professional expertise, as well as our personal experiences. We pray that we can bless you, as well as share with you, as well as share information, teach, and just simply journey with you on this evening. I am your moderator for the evening, ANESE COLLIER, and we will begin to introduce our panel on tonight. First, we will have Ms. Shapri Barnes.
Sorry about that. What did you say again? I'm sorry.
Introduce yourself.
So I'm Shapri Barnes, native of Atlanta, 2 kids, career in finance, and just ready to take this journey to enhance people's knowledge as well as mine, guide, mentor, whatever we can do within the community to make it better for our youth as well as the adults.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Shapri. And next we'll have Chad.
I'm Chad Wilson from Gonzales, Louisiana. I'm an educator of 22 years, athletic coach, community leader. I'm just glad to be here today.
Thank you so much, Chad. And last but not least for tonight's panelists, we have April.
Hey everyone, I'm April Gibbs. I reside currently in Georgia, originally from Louisiana. I am a public servant, a minister. I am mom of 3. About to add some kids to my status. I am a Navy veteran, and I'm just here to give my 2 cents of my input of where I can help others grow as well as myself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And my name is ANESE COLLIER, and I am a practicing mental health therapist, as well as clergy, as well as a just good old human being. Hoping that if I can help somebody, my living will not be in vain. We have our behind the scenes producer this evening, Hobart Grayson, who is the brainstorm brainchild miracle worker of Off the Bench Sports, who is our sponsor and extraordinaire for the evening. So thank you so much, Mr. Hobart Grayson, for this opportunity to moderate and be the host for this evening. So as we enter into our subject on tonight, which is part 2, and I am demonstrative, so you will see my hands going because I am passionate, because I understand that this is my purpose on this planet, which is mental health. And our panelists were very, if you will, demure and humble about their givings to this world when they introduce themselves. And you'll hear more as we share on this evening in conversation. So you're actually welcomed along for our fireside chat. And I pray that you are able to glean and garner from our conversation on tonight. So this is a part 2, which is a follow-up from last week's conversation on mental health stigma in the African American community. So as we begin this conversation on tonight, and we talk about stigmas, one of the remaining taboos in our community of color remains around the stigma of mental illness. And whether it's depression, anxiety, and God forbid, and oftentimes suicide, it's long withstanding that the belief within our community and concerns is that it's a taboo, usually because of socioeconomic challenges or maybe the higher risk of mental health, because we don't often see it as a need to go see a physician or a therapist. And usually in the African American community, our perspective is that we have perseverance and we have resilience because we survived slavery. I mean, and surely we can survive sadness or anxiety. And that's the mindset that we carry and has been passed along generationally so. And those are truisms. However, anything less than that would be considered spiritually or a moral weakness. But the problem is that we often fail to recognize mental illness is much more than a feeling of melancholy or anxiousness or anxiety. It tends to be viewed as a weakness. And the thing is that mental illness or mental health is not seen as a help. And what we fail to realize is that 1 in 5 of every person in the United States in any given year will suffer with a mental health issue. So how do we address this issue in the Black community? Well, there's some social economic issues. There's a cultural responsiveness that we need to have to mental health treatment. So do we go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm not feeling well? Well, I can't see it. I can't hear it. I don't know anything about it. There's research done about it, done in that regard, but is there enough to our other ethnic and racial counterparts? Absolutely not. And there's systematic barriers. We don't tell and we don't talk about it. So let's start with one of the biggest misnomers. And this question is going to go to Miss Japri. Faking the funk. We tend to fake happiness. Have you ever just been pretending to be happy? We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I think if I say no, it will more than likely be a lie because I think at some point everyone has pretty much faked happiness in their life because it seems to be easier than to deal with what you're actually going through, especially in front of people, because it's instilled in you to not let your business be known. So I would say yes, I have. And I mean, it can be something as simple as work, work-life balance, something as simple as trying to please someone, So yeah, I have faked happiness. Ultimately, I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I've done it.
Oh, wow. You said something rich there. Please someone. So
Yeah.
pleasing someone other than ourselves.
Right.
Wow. What do you have to say to that, Brother Chad?
I would have to agree. When we go through, life's issues, or just experiences every day, we know we don't. Sometimes we don't want to project our frustrations out on others, so we'll keep it bottled up inside, and sometimes for too long. So, uh, so at times too, we do it so we don't project, our frustrations and situations on other people that has nothing to do with them.
And if I just piggyback off that?
Absolutely.
So also when you're the strong person, you're the person, you're the go-to for everyone, you tend to do that because you have no choice. Because everyone depends on you to not have a weakness or to not go through things, or to be there for them.
Continue. Say more. This is rich. We hit out the gate running.
Right. Well,
but you said you have no choice. Do you not have a choice, or that's your choice?
Well, no, it just depends on how you was brought up. Because if you was brought up to be that strong person, you feel that you have no choice, because that's who you were trained, so to speak, to be. As you get older, which is why I say yes, at some point in our life, we have faked happiness, because as you get older, you understand choices, you understand how to make them, and you tend to aim to please yourself more, understand what's best for you. But that comes with life experiences, especially if you've been taught to be the strong one because you were raised by the strong one. So yeah, it just depends on a lot of things. Go ahead.
Jump in there.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, you say we do and we don't have a choice. We do have a choice. It's the choice that we choose to make in that decision making process. And you just said something that was also very powerful. As you grow, you learn how to control situations and circumstances better. So then we make better choices. I choose to say no.
Right.
And most time, because I'm the strong person in my family, so I understand what you're saying. Most times, as the strong person, we don't want to say no for fear of letting that person down even more than where they already are. So we do whatever we can to try to build them up. But that's where our fakeness comes in it, because we're not always built up. Sometimes we have our own issues. Sometimes we just want to say no, but at fear for the other person not getting where they need to be, we continue on, we trudge on, we continue to do this, we continue to do that. And before we know it, we're wore down. And I think one of the things that I don't know, ANESE probably has this in her lineup, is talking about what depression actually is, because people don't always know what depression is. The things that lead up to major depression or clinical depression, or those specific diagnoses of depression. I'm not sad, I'm not anxious, I'm not this, but at some point in our life we all are. We just choose different ways to handle those, I call them side effects of life.
Right.
Absolutely. And we're going to cover that. And I just want to say that, Chad, and I don't mean to hop in there. It's so hard being the moderator, and you have so much juicy stuff. This is a great topic tonight. But you said something there, and I want you to answer that, but I also want to add this on to that about being inauthentic to others as well as yourself.
Right.
Being authentic to other people. I tell people, when you get to be in my circle, you get to see the real April, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And by doing so, you're not just real to that person. One of my things I always tell my kids: to thine own self be true.
Yes.
And when you look in that mirror and you see yourself, what is the truth about you? What is the truth about the life you're living that other people see? Are they seeing the you that you want them to see, or the you that you think everybody wants to see? And that's usually only the good stuff. Or are they seeing when you're having a bad hair day, or when your makeup's not on straight, or you ain't had time to iron clothes and you just had to come out the house looking like you was, as my mom used to say, rough dry. Or do they see you always well put together? Everything, it appears that everything is in order.
Chad?
Well, I was just gonna go back to, one of the reasons why we may fake happiness is because we're expected to, depending on your position or what situation, you're expected to behave happily. I think of my position as one of the disciplinarians at the school. In spite of a lot of negativity my way, they expect me to not only carry myself a certain way, but project a certain level of positivity all the time, in spite of, I might be having a really bad day, or I may have, or things that may come my way may cause me to have, an emotional mood swing, in a certain way. So, sometimes we're expected to be happy, or expect to be happy. So we fake it, we fake it until we can't fake it anymore.
Fake it till you make it. So when
Right.
you talk about those emotional mood swings, it's what's called an unanticipated stressful event. And what happens when those come about is we sometimes panic, which leads us to the next part or segment, to some of the mental health challenges we face. Panic attacks or anxiety attacks. So we have this duality going on. And sometimes if we are not aware, we don't know how to differentiate the two. So there's anxiety and then there's panic. So what often happens is that there's some information that I'm going to give. So right after this disclaimer comes up, I'd like to give this information. So there's anxiety and then there's panic. So anxiety comes with worry, fear, and distress. And panic is suddenly, it involves intense, overwhelming fear. And at the end of our conversation, we're going to talk a little bit about how they sometimes occur at the same time, and how sometimes panic attack or panic occurs, and how sometimes it's anxiety attack. So the question is, where and when do we know we feel anxious? And is there a such thing as positive anxiety? Have you heard of such a thing? April.
So, positive anxiety, let's talk about that. Because what I've learned is too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. And so sometimes we get excited about the stuff that it makes us anxious. Like, not necessarily in a bad way, but sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. It gets us overly anxious, I think is the word that I want to look for, and makes us go to another place, to where we can't prevent ourselves, we can't calm ourselves down or get back to where we need to be, just to have a calm, relaxing moment in that place. And
Okay.
being, I guess, I don't know, just what we consider bad anxiety. A lot of times we think something bad has to be going on for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily true. I've also learned that I have to pay attention to what I'm dealing with or what I'm not dealing with. mentally, physically, and emotionally. And when I say what I'm not dealing with, I mean the stuff that I'm just kind of pushing to the back burner and not, or as we act as if it's not there, the elephant in the room that everybody sees but nobody addresses. And so sometimes those things can cause us to be anxious as well.
Give us an example, please.
Oh, you would ask for an example. What I consider the elephant in the room is, and this may not be a real good example, but you're in a relationship that is not necessarily good for you, and when that person comes around, your whole attitude and demeanor changes because you don't know what's gonna happen. So you get anxious, hoping, okay, I hope this is a peaceful settling. I hope he doesn't do anything crazy, So that builds up anxiousness, and you think nobody else notices it, but in fact, everybody notices it. They just aren't saying anything.
Got it. Great example. Chad, Shapri, chime in.
I
Come
just
on.
think for me, either good or bad, anxious is sometimes you can be overly excited about something, and it just goes, depends on how you handle it. You could be nervous, you could be uneasy about it, or it can be something as simple as a deadline that you have to meet, but again, whether it turns out good or bad is how you handle it. For me.
While I was thinking about, as you posed the question about a positive anxious moment, the only thing I could think of, well, two things I thought of is, like, one, when you're that kid waiting for Christmas, now it might not be necessarily a good thing that you stay up all night, anticipation for Santa Claus to come, but that's, I guess a positive thing. Or when I was about to get married, and I'm standing up there and waiting for her to come, and she ain't on time, it invoked a response, but it wasn't necessarily a negative. You wasn't anticipating anything bad happening. It was just, the anticipation of a moment to happen. So most of the time when we associate anxiety, we associate it with something that is not so favorable, or what we perceive to be not so favorable.
And I'd like to.
Okay, go ahead.
No. You.
And so I think a little different on that. I think for me, anxious is more. I versus panic is more of the positive side of things, because you're more nervous when it's something that can make you better, or like graduation or promotion on the job, or just an elevation in life can make you anxious. So I kind of view it more on the positive side.
Okay.
But again, it's just how you handle it. How some people may handle it.
Okay.
But
I was about to pass out waiting for my wife to come down the aisle.
But that's a good thing, though, because you're getting married. So that's positive. You know what I'm saying?
It would have been good if I fell out, though.
That would have been the panic.
Well, no, everyone else would have panicked. He'd have been calm.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That would have panic. Right. That's where the panic comes in. But just for me, anxiousness is normally tied to something, an accomplishment, or, just an elevation in life.
Well, also too, we have to understand what the definition is, and it's usually the anticipation of something stressful. So be it good, bad, or otherwise. Right. And so when I ask the question, could it be positive? Yes, it can be. And so that adrenaline can cause you to be concerned, but it's to what level do you allow it then to take over, right? Right. So then it then becomes a stressful situation. And something about anxiety is that it has a gradual effect upon you, right? Right. And so then and it can be both emotional as well as physical. So right. So those are both truisms as well. And then when we talk about panic, And panic is suddenly, and it's usually intense, and it's something that's overwhelming. And overwhelming, it too has both emotional and physical, because there's a visceral effect that takes place in the mechanics of the body. So sometimes, if you are unaware, they can be mistaken one for the other, or you have the inability to separate the two. I'm not sure if one caused the other, or one is the other, or what they are. And that's why I'm so glad that the disclaimer flashed, because in this program, I'm going to always, 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 always say, please seek professional counsel, be it your primary care physician, or be it a professional mental health provider, if you feel as though you are experiencing any of the symptomologies or any type of distress or disorder as we talk about these subjects. Thank you so much. So with that being said, an anxiety attack, people say, oh, I'm having an anxiety attack. Well, are you really? So as we talk about apprehension and worry, that's emotional, and that's usually an anxiety attack. Distress, that's usually an anxiety attack. Restlessness, that's usually an anxiety attack. Fear, that can be anxiety or a panic attack. Fear of dying and losing control, that's usually, a panic attack. So, something's going to happen to me really, really detrimental, a sense of detachment from the world, or derealization, or depersonalization, that's usually a panic attack. Heart palpitations, chest pains, shortness of breath, tightness in the throat, or feeling like you're choking, dry mouth, sweaty, chills, hot flashes, trembling, shaking, numbness, and tingling, nausea, abdominal pain, upset stomach, headache. And I'm getting these from the Diagnostic Statistical Manual 5, and those are associated with both anxiety and panic attacks. And so I was having a conversation earlier with Chad, and we were talking about how in COVID, and for persons that had to go out earlier to retrieve things, some people experience panic attacks. I know personally, when I went out earlier, when the first time I had to go out, after the pandemic was declared or had begun, I experienced a panic attack, because I was like, oh my goodness, everything I look, everywhere, I thought if my eyeballs looked too long, I was gonna catch COVID. Laughing but serious. I'm being transparent. So share, if you'd like, if you've had that experience, and what did you do in those situations of a panic attack, not COVID, but panic.
So, like ANESE said, I shared my situation with her earlier off air. I was the person who was responsible for doing the running at my house. Everybody in my home stayed, at home. So amidst going to Walmart, my mindset was I need to hurry up. Well, I would go early in the morning when there's not very many people there. And I was of the mindset where I need to hurry up and get everything that I need before the stores filled up. And so amidst doing that, I believe that I sent myself into a frenzy, a form, I guess, of anxiety about not forgetting anything, making sure that I, acquired all the things that I needed to acquire, and then running from this place to that place and so forth and so on. And amidst doing that, I experienced a physical response from the hustle and bustle of trying to get everything. And I believe that it was a panic attack, because my breathing changed, and heart was about to jump out of my chest and all that good stuff. And as I shared before, luckily I had the wherewithal to understand and know that, hey, this is not good. I need to slow down. So I just took a moment and I just stopped and just started breathing. And got my heart rate down, and then kind of regroup. Took about a minute to just regroup. Hey, these are things I need to do, and here's where I need to go, and this one, so I could get myself in a better place to be able to do what I need to do and exit the store. So, and I believe there was probably a lot of people who experienced those types of things during COVID, because everybody was so afraid of being affected, especially in the early times.
Now, you shared something from COVID. Do me a favor, if you will, and I don't want to make this about COVID, but I want you to, if you will, define the term wherewithal.
The wherewithal, I used it, the wherewithal to get whatever it is that I needed to get. So it became a situation where I felt like, and I'm like this all the time though too, I try to do things efficiently, but whenever I entered the store, it's like the plan went out the door, because I wanted to hurry up and get this. I wanted to hurry up and get that, get this, get that. And then the plan that I had, I was even as strategic as to write my little list of things that I had to do in the order in which I wanted to go get it. But it all kind of went out the door once I got in the store, because they had people around and all. But again, like I said, whenever I realized what was going on with me, and like I said, when my body responded, I noticed, when I say wherewithal, I noticed that, hey, this is not right. I came to a point in a moment where I said, hey, I'm losing control. So wherewithal, I had the ability to, I guess, to identify that, I'm in a place where I need to regain control. And that's what I did,
Okay, so if you don't mind, ladies, I'm just going to ask you to give some input of, when do you notice when something's not right with you and you may be experiencing yourself sort of getting there, or have gotten there if you've experienced a panic attack?
So I can say I have experienced, and I probably still do experience them, because I don't know that it has went anywhere. I started having panic attacks while driving on the freeway, on back roads. I thought maybe it was because my car was too big, because I used to drive a Ford Expedition, and my son and I, we were driving. It's like all of a sudden I feel like this rising up inside of me, and I think the car is going to turn over. The cars are going to come in my lane and run over me. The trucks are going to run over me, and so I know in my mind that this is not what's really happening, but it seems all so real. I've tried a number of things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Like Chad, I've tried the breathing exercises, trying to calm myself down. I've had to pull over on the side of the road and say, okay, April, get it together. This is not what it is. I've had to call people and have them talk to me, because that just changed my whole mindset while I'm driving to where I'm going. And of course, I was always praying and saying, God, now you have not given me the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I believe that prayer always works, no matter what our situation is. But I don't have those attacks as often as I did. And my joke with my kids were, y'all gonna have to hire me a driver, because I'm not gonna be able to drive myself. And they was like, oh no, lady, you're gonna have to drive. But it was just like an overwhelming feeling. Like this stuff was really going on. And if I think you don't listen to your hindsight or your second mind or whatever it is, those feelings will overtake you and have you in a whole nother place.
Shapri?
So for me, it's kind of the same thing, April experience. Mine just was with, I was in 2 car accidents within 3 months, and both were rear-ended. They rear-ended me. So it made me nervous to just drive, period. But especially being that I was at a stop when they both happened, it's like I'm always in a panic when people stop too close, or if I'm too close to someone. And I tend to hold my breath. And so, I have to kind of, like April said, get it together, Shapri. You got to get to your destination. You got to pick up your keys. You got to do, it kind of, it does take over. It takes over your mental in that moment. It makes you nervous about every little movement,
Mhm.
and you're driving for 4 or 5 people. So yeah, I've experienced it in that way. And I just kind of, you have to talk yourself down, kind of like talk yourself off the ledge, so to speak.
So, mhm.
What would you say to someone in that get it together is? And I'm not using this in a mockery way, but in a that's your phrase, get it together.
Um,
What is the get it together?
as Chad said, gain control back, gain your focus back, your mental collected. Get yourself out of that zone of fear, and
Okay.
just understand where you need to be.
Okay. And where you need to be is in the present.
Right, the moment.
Right.
Present moment. So
Mm-hmm.
put a pin in it, and we're going to come back to that. Can we get a disclaimer as we move to the next segment, please? We're going to smile because there's always a little bit. I should have given him a warning, but that's okay because our producer is the best there is. Thank you so much. And as we move into our next segment, and the reason why I am a stickler for the disclaimers is simply because mental health is a sensitive subject, and especially in our community, but in all communities, in just that we are providing information. We are located across the country, and we have licenses, and we are educated mental health therapists and providers on this podcast tonight, and we are locally um, and ethically bound. And so, therefore, we want to ensure that we are adhering to those guidelines. And so, just want to um, be mindful of that and be respectful to you, our listening audiences. So, we're going to move into a subject that's oftentimes sort of bow tied, if you will. I'm just reading Meditra's comment. Lack of knowledge about something and unaware of a situation sometimes causes a panic attack, especially, exactly, Meditra, exactly. Lack of knowledge, definitely. And sometimes too much information does cause panic.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can cause panic because you don't know what to do. And when you don't know what to do, sometimes we get out of sorts. And I'd like to think of anxiety as sometimes thinking too far ahead because you don't know what to think. So thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate you coming back tonight and joining us. So we're moving into sometimes what's another number one mental health concern, and that is depression. And not trying to do a deep, super dive, but just trying to provide some type of information um, and according to definition, or not definition, but just really trying to say what is depression really. So depression, it's normal to experience sadness, right? So, like when Simba cried in Lion King, Simba died in Lion King, or Mufasa, when he couldn't wake Mufasa up, we all, may have shed a tear, with the exception of Simba. He felt bad for his babies, but, we all did that. And it's not untypical to have some type of sadness. But when it comes to clinical depression, you must go see your primary care physician or a professional mental health. But without treatment, depression on its own will not fade away. So what do you do? There are certain causes of depression: family history, traumatic life events, environmental stressors, medical conditions, hormonal changes, substance abuse. And this list is not meant to be exhaustive. And of course, there are exceptions to every rule. So, with that being said, what do you say, panel, to someone who, hey, I'm depressed, and you can't tell them otherwise.
You mean they're acknowledging that they're depressed?
They're telling you they're depressed. And that, I'm depressed. And I cross my arms. Now what?
And so I think in that moment, if you're coming to me telling me you're depressed, let's talk about it. Let's see where you are in your depression. What's causing you to be depressed, or what issues you feel you're having or going through that has gotten you to that point. And for me, it's to listen. And if I can offer you any advice or any guidance, then I can. If not, we can go together. Because sometimes people just don't want to take that step and go, because now it makes them feel like they're sick, or something, out of the ordinary, or maybe what may people think of me. So we can go together, make you feel like you're in a judgment-free zone. As April said last week, a safe place. So I have to, if you're coming to me as your friend, as the person you're confiding into, I have to make you feel safe. So you'll open up and we can kind of dive into what's going on.
April?
I agree with what Shapri said. And a lot of times people don't feel like they're in a safe place, or they feel like, even though I told you, you're going to judge me. And so I'm not going to share as much as I need to get the help that I need, or I'm not going to be as truthful about the situation to get the help that I need. And I wholeheartedly agree with some questions, and maybe even asking them, do you just want to talk to me and you want me to listen, or do you want me to comment with a response? Because not all times do they want a response. Maybe they just need to, I call it talking out loud. I am, at some point in my life, may always be in counseling, just because I just believe in it, and it's my way of getting out what I need to get out to somebody. I have a licensed counselor that I talk to. I have friends that I call and talk to. It just depends on what place I'm in, because depression, like she said, is not always the same place. Sometimes it's different things. And if we learn to communicate what our issues are more effectively, and really find a person that we can express those feelings to, those emotions that have become bottled up inside of us, we can better deal with our life issues, because that's what it ultimately affects: our life issues, our lifestyles, our way of life, and our being.
Our kids as well.
Exactly. Because what we think they don't see, trust me, they see and hear it. And it affects them.
Chad, your buddy. He's angry, he's irritable, he's aggressive, he's anxious, he's restless, he's on the edge, he's losing interest in work, his family, his hobbies, he's experiencing issues with high risk activities, he's drinking more, he's taking drugs, he's having chronic pain, headaches, digestive problems, and he's thinking about possibly talking about a lot of debt and giving away stuff.
I always tell folks, hey, everybody.
What are those signs of?
Oh, depression, or some issues, some quite possibly destructive issues. So
and may I 1 second, and then I want you to talk. Those are signs of, for not all, but those are men in depression. So oftentimes, it's sad to say, depression is oftentimes overrated for women, because women report it more, and men are not do not seek counseling as much as women.
That's true.
So those are symptoms that you typically see in men.
Yeah.
So continue.
So the one thing that I do when I see people or come in contact with people like that, depending on what type of relationship I have with that person, is I always express to them, everybody needs somebody, whether you choose to believe it or not. Everybody, needs some type of confidant or something to be able to express those types of feelings too. Now, The other thing that I always say is I may not be that person that you want to talk to about these types of things, but you need to go talk to someone. And then so from there, you you will want to try to lead that person to someone who they feel comfortable with to be able to address those different types of feelings. You know, and I think that's as a person in the positions that we are all in, that's what we want. Because at the end of the day, we want our friend or our associates or our co-workers or whatever, we want them to be here. We want them to live a happy, productive, um, meaningful, purposeful life. So, so we want to lead them to a place where they can be able to live in a positive type way. So, that would be what I would do. If they don't feel comfortable talking to me about it, or wanting me to listen to what they got going on, lead them to someone who can, or someone who they feel comfortable sharing that information with.
Awesome. And not to in any way give less time to this subject, but definitely want to again remind our audience to seek professional help from your primary care physician, a professional mental health therapist. And if at any time you feel the need to talk to someone, there is a 1-800-273-TALK suicide prevention helpline hotline number that is on the screen. Write that down, put it in your phone. You may not need it today, you might not need it this moment. And it doesn't mean that you are going to take action this very minute now, but you may need someone just to have a conversation with until you can go into the offices. Please remember, help is only a phone call away. So, I may have been feeling blue, I may have had a panic attack, I may have been anxious, or I may be the life of the party. Hey, I'm getting along with everybody, everything's going well, and guess what? You're so extroverted, you're so outgoing, I know you don't have any problems. And now there's this phrase that's called an extroverted introverted. I see y'all outside, but in my house, I don't want to be bothered with y'all. But your energy level is through the roof. I mean, come on, somebody. Hello. Say more. Someone tell me something.
That's me.
All right, then tell me about you. Tell the world about you.
I can be the life of the party outside my own four walls. And when I get in here, I'm okay. I was okay during COVID. A lot of people had those issues where I just had to be outside. I got to go somewhere. I got to do something. Not me. I was all right with being in the house. Because this is just my personal opinion about me. I love April. And so I'm okay with being alone with April. I don't have to have a million people around me to enjoy me. The same enjoyment I give others, I give that self to me. So I'm okay with being by myself.
So there's this notion that there's no such animal, Supreme.
I disagree because I'm that person as well. I'm a loner by nature, but I also can entertain, if I need to. I can deal with people. I'm told I'm a social butterfly. I don't think so. I just think I speak when spoken to. And at times I can be shy and at times I can be outgoing. It just depends on the environment. Exactly. So I don't know, maybe it's just I'm adaptable, but yeah. And I think the term is it ambivert is what would be considered an introvert and an extrovert. So yeah, I just think, yeah, it's a such thing as that creature, because that I am.
All right, Coach, come on now. What do you have to say to these ladies?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know, because I don't know that you could. Just me. I don't know either you one or the other. I know everybody values their quiet time and they want to be, even I, as a coach, I think we're always in an arena with a lot of noise and a lot of, different sounds and different comments and everything. So, too, I value my quiet time. It's essential to me, being whole. But I don't know that I could, function properly just being by myself all the time. I think, just maybe just the nature of my personality or my, or the things that make me whole. It involves other people, So I think it's just how you wired,
Mm-hmm.
Some people are wired that way. Well, and there's times where I'm okay with being by myself. In fact, like I said, I value that time because I have 3 kids. They all over the place. I have a wife. Sometimes she all over the place. Going shopping here, going doing this there, and so sometimes, amidst all of the duties that I have and the responsibilities and the things that I do, I value that quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I don't think I could be me without all of the activity as well.
So
I think that's called man cave. That's the difference. No.
I think like let's say a child, for example, when you first meet them, they're kind of shy, they're quiet, they're like, their demeanor is just the opposite of outgoing. But then once you get to know them, they wide open. They're wide open. So you have the characteristics of both. It just depends on how comfortable you are with the people or the person, the environment you're in, if you're willing to open up. And some don't have that both. Some are just shy, period. But I just do think it's people that have both. It's just about how comfortable you are in the environment and the people you're around.
Yeah, so let me read to you the 10 top characteristics of a extroverted introvert. So you're often confused as an extrovert. You're selectively social. You have no interest in trying to prove yourself in a crowd of strangers. You need time to warm up in social situations. It actually takes time. It actually takes less energy to say what's on your mind than to make small talk. You can be charming, but also deeply introspective and reflective. When you feel rested and recharged, you reach out to others. You find people to be both intriguing and exhausting. Certain people and interactions drain you while others recharge you.
Yeah.
And last but not least, your energy level is closely tied to your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So
it
is great. So don't go. That's why I'm so glad he flashed. Our producer flashed the disclaimer. So that's not for you to diagnose, but there is such a thing. And I wanted for us, and I described tonight's show as the pendulum sort of swinging here, because I wanted us to provide information and provided us to come back up, and to end, because there's always hope. I don't believe that God would have allowed for this much passion to be among his people if there was not hope. And he would have not called us into this line to serve others if there were not hope. So we're going to now share for the next minutes that are ours, self-care. And self-care, what it is not. It is not. It is not. Let me repeat this, because here I am again. I am a list girl. What most people think of self-care is probably taking a shower, brushing your teeth, and getting enough sleep at night. That is not self-care. That is hygiene. Okay? But while those are basic care activities, they are very essential. That means do not skip those, okay?
Right.
I was sharing with someone, and this is the gospel according to me. And I know this is probably where I'm going to get some thumbs down or some boos or whatever the case may be. Someone said to me, I get my hair done, I get my nails done, and I'm good to go. That's my self-care. And I said, that's great. Those are awesome things for you to do. I personally don't discredit those. I think that's wonderful. I think that's a step for you to do. However, I consider those maintenance. Self-care is when you take care of your soul. Is it well with your soul? How are you feeding your soul? See, because if I never get my hair done, if I never get my nails done, how is that feeding my soul? Maybe looking good for myself, doing something. All of those are wonderful things. But how am I taking care of my soul? Am I exercising to keep my body well? Am I meditating? Am I stilling myself to hear that still small voice? Am I journaling, writing, saying anything? What am I doing? Am I eating right? Am I fueling myself? Have you ever looked up and it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and you have not eating?
Have I?
Are you doing something to enjoy yourself? So there are 3 people. Everyone gets 1 minute to share what they do for self-care. And then I will give the closing remarks.
I'll start.
Okay, so go ahead.
Woo, he's tired of going last.
Go ahead, Chad.
So self-care for me is spending time with myself. And it comes in the form of, believe it or not, cutting grass. Because when I get on a lawnmower and I clear my mind and I start thinking about whatever, it allows me to see things clearly. I spoke of earlier, quiet time with myself, when everybody's out of the house and I may be doing something, but in the process, my whole, person is clear, and I can start meditating and seeing and talking to God about what is and what's not, how I should see these things and how I should not. And it just makes things a whole lot, clear for me to see things a whole lot clearer. So quiet time, whether it's, doing something or just, being still, that is what I call self-care.
Okay. So for me, self-care can be done a number of ways. I like to write poetry. That's the way I express myself and release my emotions or mental thoughts to prevent, because I'm used to holding things in. So it prevents that buildup. Also, to rejuvenate, refresh, renew my mind. Sometimes I, take a flight or drive to the beach and just kind of meditate there, because the sounds of the waves relax me, and the fresh smell of the ocean relaxes me. And it's just a space where I'm in tune with myself, my inner self, and acknowledging things that I should acknowledge or should have acknowledged, and releasing things that I should have released. But again, it can come in a number of ways. It can come, somebody can be washing my hair and I'm relaxed in thought. It's just a number of ways. It just depends on what works best for you. But that's what works for me.
So for me, self-care is a daily preservation, because my mom used to say self-preservation is the first law of the nation. Taking care of you should happen before anyone. And I do that in a numerous ways. I generally start my mornings off with prayer and meditation. I journal a lot. I got books and books and books where I just journal in, and I just pick up one and start writing. Maybe listening to music. Music is my beast to my soul. Like, it just frees my mind. Maybe doing nothing at all. Somebody may call and say, "What you doing?" "Nothing." Why not? I don't want to do nothing. I mean, it's laughing and talking. Sometimes it's helping others. And ANESE's thing going to the hair salon, the nail spa, that's not very important to some people, ANESE.
Oh,
So
I'm
for
clear.
them to be able to do that, I mean, because they say I can do my own hair. I don't have to pay for somebody to do my hair. I can't do my own hair, but I do partake in allowing somebody else to do it because
Oh, I'm clear.
that gives me, I can just take a deep breath and not have to worry about anything. And like Shapri said, just them washing, shampooing my hair, like that relaxes my mental mind or something.
Thank you, producer.
Right.
So
I just think it's different for each person. It's
It
whatever
absolutely is.
relaxes you.
Absolutely is.
Some people detox,
Absolutely.
go through the journey of that. Some people burn sage, so it's just it's what relaxes you and what allows you time. Some people are so busy that just sitting in the car, for a
I do
minute
that too. I
before
may
you
sit
go
in
in
there
the
for
house.
minutes before I get in the house.
Right. So or some people shopping
Absolutely.
may not
So
be the healthiest thing financially, but
Go to a
and you
ball
repent
game.
on the altar later. You repent on the
right,
altar later.
right.
So yeah, that's hilarious. So thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much for allowing this opportunity. I'd like for our producer to come back on if possible, and just say thank you to him and Off the Bench Sports for this opportunity to offer mental health stigma in the African American community, part 2. I think tonight's conversation was phenomenal. Would you like anything to say before I give my closing remarks?
Thanks, everybody. Come back again next week. Good night.
So, my closing remarks: more than half of the people with mental illness do not receive the help for their disorders. And that is apropos. However, I want to leave you with this thought. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to heal because we're too busy pretending we're not hurt.
Mm.
There are 3 types of stigma: public stigma, institutional stigma, and self stigma. Please, please, please be good to yourself. Thank you. Peace and blessings. Good night.
Spread your love, ANESE. Your
Here's your love. We love you. We love you. We love you. We love you.